Hi everyone, Paulo here. Welcome back to the channel where I make how-to videos from Mac tips, backend, Swift, Salesforce, and game development. Time to share what I've learned, and I'm back with another Unreal Engine tutorial. This is part of the Character Animation HowTo series. In this video, we're going to learn how to use animation retargeting with Mixamo characters. But first, we're going to learn what root motion is and why we need the root bone to Mixamo characters and how to add them. We're going to learn how to create an IK rig and IK Retargeter, then tweak the animations further. Then we're going to use the default UE5 animation blueprint and retarget them to the new Mixamo character. Then replace the BP third person character mesh with the new character and use Mixamo animations with root motion. Mixamo is a great resource for getting new characters and free animations. The only issue is the skeleton is not rooted. Their root is on the hips, which could cause problems when trying to use them in Unreal Engine. Let me show you. So go to mixamo.com and select a character that you want. For me, I'm going to use this character, the Maria. Go ahead and download the T-pose. Next, go under animations. The one I'm interested in is animation that has movement on them that changes the position. So this is it, the Great Sword Slide Attack. When I select that, you can see that my character is sliding, turning, and then doing a sword slash. So I want to download this. This time without the skin. And go ahead and download. Back to Unreal Engine, I have the third person template here. I'm just gonna open the content drawer and the characters. I'm gonna create a new folder called Maria. Open that folder. Now I'm gonna drag and drop the T-pose first and make sure import animations is off. Then click on import. You'll get this message, which is fine, so close that out. Next, I'm gonna import the animation, so drag and drop that to the content drawer. Make sure you select the right skeleton. It's gonna detect its animation only, so go ahead and import that. So let's go ahead and inspect this. So the first thing we're gonna inspect is the skeleton. You can see here the root hierarchy here is on the hips, and we could click on here and show character, bones, and all hierarchy, and you would see this is the hierarchy of bones. If I go here on the animation tab here, editor, this is one of the only animations that we downloaded. You can see the root position is not moving. So it's staying in place, but the character animates, but it's staying in place. So if I scroll down here to this section and look at the root motion section here, if I do a force root lock, it would lock our character in that position by the hips, and the animation looks ugly because she's hanging by the hips. The same thing with enable root motion. So what we need to do is actually have an animation with the root bone animated with the character. So let me show you what that looks like. So I'm going to close this out. Go to the mannequins folder, then animations, and select Manny. And for this one, look at the walk forward animation. So if I open that up and go under the root motion section here, the force root lock is enabled, so just untick that. You would see that the character moving forward, the root bone is also moving forward, so it's not fixed in place in that location, unlike the Mixamo character that we just had. So let me tick that back and save. So on the documentation here, we need to have, in order to use the root motion, we need to have a root bone that has an animation movement on it. So below here, you would see it's similar to the mannequin, where the root bone is animated with the character. So when you don't have root motion enabled and you have an animation that has this kind of movement, you would see that the capsule, the character movement capsule, remains in place. But when you enable root motion, the character would now do its animation, but the capsule would move along with it. So to get our Mixamo character doing this, first we need to add a root bone to it, then we could enable root motion. So how do we add a root bone to our Mixamo character? So you can do that by going to GitHub and use this Mixamo Converter. This is an add-on to Blender, that would allow you to add a root bone to the Mixamo characters. So there's been some issues with what version works for this one. So what works for me is the latest version of Blender. So right now I'm using the latest version of Blender, which is Blender 4.0.2. So this version works for me. So go ahead and download the zip file for the Mixamo converter. And to install it on Blender, go under Edit, Preferences, select Add-ons, and then select Install, and then search for that download, and then that will be installed. Once that is installed, you could hit the End key on your keyboard or click on this tab here, and it would expand. Now you have a tab for Mixamo here. Under Mixamo, these are the settings. For the batch, it needs an input and an output. Back to my desktop here, I'm just gonna create a new folder called Input and create a new folder called Output. Now for the input, this would go here. And for the output, then do batch convert. Once that is done, I should see the new files in my directory. So let's go back to Unreal Engine here, and this time I'm gonna delete all of these, the ones that we just imported. So I'm gonna do delete. I'm gonna re-import them again. So I'll start with the T-pose. There's no animation, so just untick that and click on import all. Next, we're gonna do the sword, making sure it's selecting the Maria character, and then click import animations now, then import all. So it added 2 additional assets here which I don't really need, so go ahead and delete those. And let's get organized a bit. So we have materials, mesh, and rigs, and I'll create a new one called animations that we're going to use for. So for the animation, move it here. Next, select the materials, then move. Finally, select the mesh and move. Cool. So go under mesh and let's open the skeleton. So now, let me dock this here. So now we have a root bone added as the top parent of the hips, which is looking better. So if I go to the animation tab here and look at our character, you would see that now she's animating, but the root bone now has animation data with it, so it's following our character. So this is looking good. Now we can start creating that IK rig. So go back to the mannequin for UE5. You would see that there's already an IK rig for the UE5 mannequin. The bones has been set up, the bone chain plus the goals has been set up. So we're going to try to recreate this on the new character. So back to the content drawer here, under the rigs for Maria, right click, select animation, retargeting, then IK rig. I'm going to call this IK Maria. Open that up, and it's going to be blank. So we need the skeletal mesh for Maria. So select that and zoom out. So this is what it looks like. So I'm going to just save that for now. Go back to my content drawer here, right click, animation, retargeting, IK Retargeter, and I'm just going to call this UE5 underscore to Maria, and then open that up. Now we need to define the source IK rig and the target IK rig. So the source IK rig is where the animation is at, so that's the IK mannequin, and we're gonna move that to the target, which is our IK Maria. So right now the meshes are overlapping. You could go here and offset it by 150, and it should move it to the right. Cool. Now if I go under the asset browser here and just pick up the walk forward animation, you would see that the UE5 character is animating, but nothing is being retargeted to the Mixamo character here. So go to your IK for the Mixamo character, Maria, and right click on the hips. So hips is where we want to set the root. So set retarget root and save. If I go here, you would see it's already started animating. So now what we need to do is create the bone chain for all of these bones. So it's pretty easy. Start with the root. You could look at the IK mannequin and see how it was done for reference. So for root, that would be its own bone. I could right click and set new retarget chain. The chain name would be auto populate most of the time, but if it's not, you would need to manually do it. So, and then for the spine, I could select all that, spine 1 up to spine 2. I could also click here and then do the same thing. Add the spine. Then for the neck, do the same. And then for the shoulder, it's from the shoulder up to the left hand there. So that would be the left arm. And for here up to here, that would be the left thumb. You would see that the chain name now didn't pick it up. So this is the time where you would need to manually enter it. So I'm gonna speed this up, but you get the point. Just add the bone chain. Cool. So I finished setting up all the bone chains here. Now if I jump to my retargeter here and go under chain mapping tab here, click on the auto map chains and click on map all fuzzy. You would see that the animation is now being retargeted to our new Mixamo character here. The pose doesn't look right because the character was on a T pose while this is on an A pose. So to quickly fix that, we just need to modify the position of our Mixamo character. So set back the offset and go under here. The location for the edit is now here. Select edit retarget pose. I'm going to start with the left arm. I'm just going to rotate that down. Cool. So you could tweak this to your liking. For now, I'm happy with that. Then I'll return back to offset. Oops, 150. And I'm gonna select the walking place and see how that looks like. So that is looking much better. Only issue is the hands is clipping the hips here. And if I look at the other animation, for example, the land here, you would see the feet is sinking to the ground here. So we don't want that. So to fix this, what we're gonna do is use some solvers and some goals. So if I go to the IK mannequin here, you would see that there's some goals defined on the hand and left and right hand, and then there's some goals defined on the balls of the feet. So if you go to our IK here, first click on add new solver and then full body. So let's go to our IK rig here. First select add new solver and select full body. First thing it's going to complain, it's going to say missing root bone. So select the hips, make sure the solver is selected, right click and set retarget bone on selected solver. Now it's going to say missing goals. So now we need to define those goals. So the first one is the hand. Oops. Left hand, right hand, right click and select new IK goals. And that should auto map there. And now the balls of the feet. So for now, I think what I did is I mapped the chains of the feet up to the leg. So I'm just gonna make a quick edit. So end will just be on the left toe base and this one's just on the left toe base. So I don't want that additional bone in there. So I want the left toe base and the right toe base to be the new goal. So right click and assign, and that should fix that. Now if we jump back to our retarget here, you would see that the balls of the feet are fine, much better. Now let's check out the other animations now and how they look like. So now, because we set up some goals, the hands are now clipping much further the hips. So go under the chain mapping here, go under the right arm for now, and here we have the details. So we have the FK and the IK. So IK is for the goals that we just defined. So you have a couple of options on how to fix this. You could do a blend to source. So I could do blend to source, and it's gonna match the bone position of the source. So as you can see, the positions moved, and even though it's on a full one now, it's still clipping the side of the hips here. So you could do further offset because it's on the right side. You could, this needs, the value here needs to be negative. I could do -4 or -5. So now it's much further from the hips. Now let's do the same for the left arm here. So let's say, and maybe 0.6. Yep, 0.6 looks good. And next, let's look at the other animation. So let's see the run forward and walk forward, the female walk in place. So one thing here that I noticed is this shoulder armor is clipping through inside the character here. So we want to lessen that so it's less obvious. So what we could do is go back to our IK here and start using some settings. So this is the left shoulder. Make sure the full body IK is selected. Select the left shoulder, right click, and add settings to selected bone. Once you have that, you'll have this setting here. So let me jump here and select this goal. So this is the target goal position for this bone chain. If I move this along, you would see that inside, you would see that the shoulder starts collapsing. If I do this, that it starts collapsing. So we don't want the shoulder to collapse. So what we can do is add some stiffness to it. So here you have settings for stiffness. I want to set that to 1 and position stiffness to 1. If I go back here and move this again, you would see that the shoulder kind of stays in place now, and then the arms bend towards it. So we want to do the same for the right shoulder. So right shoulder, right click, add settings, select that, and set that to 1, and then 1. Now let's see if that fixes it. So let's jump back here. You can see that it is still clipping. What we could do here is go under here, chain mapping, select the left arm, and I'm gonna tweak the rotation alpha here. So if I move this down, all right, maybe 0 is fine. So now the shoulder is not clipping that much inside the character. Let's do the same for the right arm. So drag the rotation alpha out, and yeah, now she has more broader shoulders and animation looks better. Cool. So now if you're happy with the animation, what you could do is try to export them to test them out. So I'm gonna export this walk in place and select export animation. So for now, I'm gonna just put this on this content. I'm just gonna show you an example. So if I click on export, we have that walk forward animation. So if I open that, you would see our animation. So our animation is actually moving forward. It's not staying in place. So if I go under root motion here, you would see that the force root lock is even enabled, but it has no effect. So the walking forward has been baked into this character. That's not what we want. So what I want to do is go to the content drawer, go back there, and then just delete this. This is not the animation that we want. So if I go back to retargeter, to fix that, I actually need to go to the chain mapping here, select the root, and then we have a couple options here how to fix that. So we have the translation mode. So depending on your animation, this would fix it for you. So if I try globally scaled and go back to the asset browser and export this animation and turn that on, you would see this looks like the issue is fixed, right? Let me show the bone hierarchy. looks like it's fixed. Now if I turn the root lock motion, you could see that the root bone is animating with the character. So this looks like it's working well. So that's what we want. So if I do that, go back here. So what you could do is you could manually select all of these and export all of that and then create the blueprint. We don't want to do that. There's a better way of how to do that. What we want to do is use an existing blueprint. So I'm just going to delete this. No longer want this. And go to the mannequins folder here. Select animations. There's an existing blueprint for ABP Mani. So we want that. So right click on that and retarget animation assets. Then duplicate and retarget animation assets blueprint. So what this is going to do is it's going to access for the retargeter. So the retargeter is the one that we just created. So UE5 to Maria, and let's add a prefix as well to differentiate those animations. And go to characters, Maria, and the animations folder we just created. Once we do this, it's going to create a new blueprint for us and retarget all this animation data to that new character, which is pretty sweet. Cool. So now we have this information all loaded. So let's open one of them. You inspect it, walk in place, looking good, force root lock, working well, and all of that. So now we could go back to the content drawer and then open the third person, then BP third person character. Go on the viewport, select the mesh. We're going to swap out the mesh with the new character. So we're going to select Maria and the new blueprint, MIABP. I actually want to rename that. So if I go to Maria, animation, this one, just going to call this ABP Maria. And go back to third person, compile, save, and then I do a play. You'll see that character is added, but something doesn't look right, which is much obvious when I start moving around. When I go to an edge here, you would see that the character head pops inside. So what's going on? So the issue is, if I go back here and go to the new animation blueprint that was created for us, if I go under the anim graph, you would see that there's a control rig. So the option to create the blueprint plus the animations created this one, but it didn't create a new control rig for us. The control rig here, it's still using the UE5 character, and that is causing problems. So for now, we're not going to tackle the control rig. We're going to skip that for now. That's for a future video. Delete that and hook it up like so. Then you compile, even the preview here would start working properly, and hit save. Now you could hit the test it out again. Walking on the ledge should be fine, but yeah, there's no, and then you could jump. So I think the position of the feet is kind of off, so you may want to tweak that on the third person character. So maybe move the character a little bit down, probably remove the snapping, maybe 93. Yeah, so 93 or something else works fine, so you can tweak that further. Next, let's go back to the content drawer here. Look for that grade sort attack. So this one, right click and create and select anim montage. And let's go back to the third person character here. Go under the event graph. We're just gonna manually create a keyboard shortcut here. So keyboard, say M. So here, say play animation. Play anim montage, and the anim montage we want to place that great sword slide. So compile, save. So when I hit play and I hit the keyboard, and the character is gonna do that, but immediately she's gonna pop back to its original position. So if I go here, character capsule, and do this as well, it's much obvious what's going on. So if I play, you'd see the capsule is within character, and I hit play, character pops back to its original location. So to fix that, go to the animation section, search for that great sword slide attack animation, and this time you could finally click on the enable root motion here. So the animation would stay in place, and when I go here and hit the M key, you would see that the animation montage is working properly. The capsule is moving with the character. She doesn't snap back to the original position. Cool. So there you go. It's a bit long, I know, but we learned a lot of things in here. We learned how to add root bone, we learned how the root motion, the solvers, and all of that. So hope you like this video. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Please subscribe to the channel. Cheers. Bye for now.